Hello? Okay. All right, we're going to let Terry pass out the rest of the popcorn and now. Okay, everybody, welcome to our special call meeting for wastewater. Marnie, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Steve Friedman.
Here.
Councilmember Deb Gillis.
Here.
Councilmember Anna Richards.
Here.
Vice Mayor Don Horton.
Here.
And Mayor Sharon Mahoney.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Sue, would you lead us in the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay, council, any requests for deletions, additions? Steve, Anna, Deb?
No, I just passed out a spreadsheet to council and to staff that I just took the wastewater things and tried to put it in a sheet so we could see 6 years, including next year's budget.
Yeah, great job.
I did use the projected year ending, not the budget adjustments that we did just a couple of weeks ago.
Good job, I commend you for what you did.
Thanks.
Don?
I just wanted to mention a fraud that's happening and just call attention to it and send the newsletters out. If we can do that when it's time.
When do you want to do it?
Do you want to do it now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So anybody that's listening out there in TV land, online, wherever you're at, there's a fraud that's happening right now, both not just here in the village, but in the county as well. And there's somebody, whenever there's an application being made for, it looks like it's just planning related, but they're actually, this bot or whoever's doing it is actually just sending out an actual invoice saying that there's fees still due, and they're requesting that the fees be paid on, not online, but immediately,
Really?
yeah, and they look real. The invoice looks real. It's got a watermark of the village's seal. In the county, it's got a watermark of the county seal. It actually comes up with a total. Ron wrote about it in our newsletter today, and so pay attention to that. But just know that the village does not ask for money for you to just send it, through a bank draft or something like that. The only way you would pay any fees to the village is either online through the village's portal or in person on the third floor. So, yeah, somebody asking for a wire transfer, it's definitely a scam no matter how official it looks. And then pay attention to the email address too, because it is the wrong email address that it's coming from Islamorada. That's all. It's a big deal.
I didn't even know about it. Thank you. Thank you
It's-
very much.
It's in Ron's newsletter this week.
I didn't
Yeah.
look at it yet.
Village's newsletter.
Okay, well, thank you. Ron, anything from you?
No, just as a prelude for tonight, as you recall during the budget discussions, we identified wastewater as a problem, running a deficit, and I was directed by council to start figuring out what we can do to get it under control. We started having meetings with Peter Rosasco with Key Largo Wastewater District. He's the general manager who's in the audience tonight. And we wanted to do what we could do to improve communication and cooperation between the village and Key Largo because we are their largest customer. We send our wastewater up to Key Largo for treatment. We have a ILA that goes back years. So we were having some very productive discussions. And then in the middle of it, we got the consent order from DEP, and that kind of sped things along. And so for tonight, I've tried to put as much information on our website as possible. So if you're watching from home, you go to our website, agendas and meetings, you go to that tab for tonight. We have listed a bunch of documents, and so in case you're listening at home and you want to know what we're talking about, I think most of the things will be on there. We invited tonight Wade Trim as the village's engineering firm. We have Tom Brzezinski, who is their executive VP, very high-ranking official, Wade Trim. He's going to do a presentation. As I mentioned, Peter Rosasco is here from Key Largo Wastewater, and then our Public Works Director who's in charge of wastewater, AJ Engelmeyer, is here. So I just want to lay out, that's what we're going to be looking at tonight. We also have a couple of agenda items that we want to discuss. We moved the appropriation item from a budget request from last week's meeting to tonight, and Peter Frez is going to present an in-kind project that we're actually sending to DEP in lieu of a penalty. And so those are the two action items. But we'll be talking about a rate study tonight, I attached to the agenda the 2022 rate study and also one from back to 2013. And we want to make sure that's discussed tonight too. And we've had some input from the public about how EDUs are developed, and we're going to evaluate that. So that's kind of the layout for tonight's meeting, and we'll take it. The first item is going to be the Wade Trim discussion with Tom Brzezinski, so I wasn't sure if council had any questions before we got to the presentations.
No, I want to recognize Lily, who is back with us again, filling in for our attorney, John Quick. So thank you very much for being here, and I appreciate it. And does anybody have any questions before we move forward? No? Okay, then there's no mayor-council communication, so I guess we move to the, Ron, the first.
Yeah, Tom's at the
Okay.
podium.
Okay?
And he gave us his information. Hopefully, we'll be able to put it up so people at home can see as go along with it as he's speaking.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, Council, staff. It's good to see everybody. I recognize Lily, too. It's been a while. Do we have the presentation somewhere? There we go. So Ron asked me to come today to talk about our plan to comply with the consent order from the FDEP. I also want to take an opportunity to introduce myself as well as maybe educate the village council a little bit on some of the things that are going on in the system. I think it's good just to know as much as we can. And if we go. I went the wrong way. Oh, you're moving? I'll point it that way. There we go.
There's a learning curve.
Oh, okay. As many times as I've been in this room, I've never stood at this pedestal. I always sat over there, so this is kind of new to me. Okay, there we go. This is me. Tom Brzezinski. I've been in the wastewater market for 37 years. A lot of people would never say that, but I actually enjoyed it, and I plan to continue it for a while. I moved to Florida from Detroit back in 2005. One of my first clients was up at Ocean Reef, where we expanded their wastewater plant then. So I've been working for 20 years in the Keys. I've done work with Key Largo. I've done work, obviously, with Isla Mirada, Marathon, the Aqueduct Authority. I've kind of been up and down here for a while. I started working in Isla Mirada in 2008 at the very beginning of the village's wastewater collection system efforts. We started the design of the Middle Plantation Key vacuum pump station collection system, which you can see right outside of here of Village Hall. Back in 2008, I was asked to come in and help the village develop their program, of course working with Lily and the village council. We came up with a plan to actually put in the wastewater collection system, send the flow to Key Largo. We helped with the funding, we helped with the financing, we helped with the development of the interlocal agreement, we helped with hiring the consultants and the engineers and everyone. So I understand your system extremely well, and I want to share some of the things that I know about it today and how we can get through the consent order. And oh, by the way, I live in Tampa. Do you want me to try to do this, or?
Yeah, I gotta try.
Are you pressing the right arrow?
I did. Okay, so I want to just briefly summarize the consent order. I know it's a lot of legal words that I think I can roll down pretty quickly. The remedies that the village is currently undergoing with Ron and AJ were driven by dates towards compliance, and then I also want to share with you some of the costs that could be incurred. I did it. So really, if you boil down the consent order, there's 3 violations. There's a failure to prepare, submit, or update required O&M manuals and emergency response plan. They do reference at the time, 6 sanitary sewer overflows. Those are the conveyance force main breaks. I think we've had 1 since then, which wasn't really a break in the line. It was a air relief valve. Looks like it broke off. Still considered an SSO, though. And finally, we have not provided a completion schedule for the permitted inline booster station, which has been permitted by the DEP since December 12th of 2023. What I want to go through right now is the remedies for each one of these. So the one violation, failure to prepare the O&M manuals in the emergency response plan. This really isn't in response to the challenges that the village has been facing right now. This is a new regulation, a new rule in the Florida Administrative Code. It's something that the village hasn't responded to yet because you haven't been asked to respond to yet. But since this consent order came out, the DEP kind of slapped this on there and said, hey, you need to do this too. The second one is the, I did so well the last time. The second one is the 6 sanitary sewer overflows. These are the line breaks. This is the breaks in the conveyance force main. The inline booster station will or is intended to remove the transient forces, the hydraulic conditions that are creating these breaks. I'll explain that in a little bit, but where we're going with the inline booster station, we'll move this forward. The other thing that council authorized, I think it was last week on November 10th, is a conveyance force main analysis where we're going to take it one step further and we want to look at some installation practices that may be at risk in creating the line breaks. So we're going to look at that too. And then the third one, which I would argue, no, I think I'm going to do this here. Let's talk about the conveyance force main breaks first. So this is an example of one. I don't know if you've seen any of these pictures yet or not, but the pipes have been breaking longitudinally, which typically is in PVC pipe, transient loadings or clogged pipe. Now these pipes are too big to get clogged with anything, so we're getting some transient forces. Another problem with this that we're finding is this is difficult to see. I brought some props, not completely adequate, but this is all Home Depot has, so we're going to make it work. So one of the issues that we're having, that we're finding, what this shows, is to the left of the picture you can see this bell, right? And to the right you see this pipe. The pipe is supposed to be installed, I'm going to say roughly halfway into the bell, and there's a gasket on these pipes, a rubber gasket, neoprene. It goes in about halfway, and that allows the pipe, exaggerated, to move a little bit inside the ground when it has transients. It allows the pipe to be a little flexible. What's called overhoming is when the pipe is installed all the way in. And when it's all the way in, it can't move, right? So what happens is when the word transient really is, when the pumps turn on at North Plantation Key and they start pushing the water toward Key Largo, everything's fine. When those pumps stop, all of the water energy that goes to Key Largo starts coming back, right? And as you can imagine, you got water going one way, water going this way, then water that's smashing into each other. There's transients. This pipe, in some areas, we believe, and that's shown here, it's just difficult to see, is that the pipe is homed too far. It was installed too tight. And when that transient occurs, the pipe is not allowed to move, and it breaks the way it's shown in that picture. Okay? If installed properly, we probably wouldn't be having this problem, right? But there are some sections of the pipe that we feel have been installed this way. The conveyance force main analysis that Village approved last week will look at not only the transient hydraulic loadings in the pipe, but we're going to dig up sections of where we think this has occurred, which is basically in that mile or two range where all the breaks have occurred, and look at some of these joints. And we're also going to look at location of some air relief valves because we think some water or some air might be getting trapped in here. So there's a bunch of different things we need to look at. Just to make sure that it's not just the transients that are creating the problem, we want to make sure that when we leave, it's done. The next issue, which really is the heart of why we received the consent order, is because we haven't built the pump station yet. We went in, we got a permit, and we didn't build it. So we've re-engaged the engineer, CHA, to complete the design. I talked to them today. They think they're going to be done with it in a couple of weeks. They're also developing some updated construction cost estimates. The current estimate right now is about $4 million, which I believe the village has some grant funding to cover. But that cost estimate's a 2023 cost estimate. Things have gone up in price over the last couple of years in the construction industry, so I'm assuming that price is going to go up. We should have that information in the next few weeks. We want to take a look at it first. But I think if you could corner somebody at the FDEP and say, why did we get this consent order? And it's because we just haven't built this pump station yet. If you don't know where it is or what it is, this is a plan view of the North Plantation Key repump station. The green box is the existing facility. Originally built when North Plantation Key was as a wastewater plant for North Plantation Key. If you'll remember, if you were here long enough, the collection system within North Plantation Key had a lot of problems with it when it was originally installed by a different engineer and a different contractor. This was that area's wastewater plant. When we started the program and looked at where we should put wastewater plants within Islamorada and made the decision that we were going to send all the flow to Key Largo, the conclusion was to repurpose this facility as a pump station, as a repump station. So the green box was converted into a repump station, which means all of the flow from Lower Mat to North Plantation Key went into this green box. The pumps pushed it up the conveyance force main to the wastewater plant. What we're proposing is to build the booster station where the red box is. Just to the, I guess that would be just to the west of the big white circular tank there. That was a reclaimed water tank back when this plant was an operating wastewater plant. We used to store reclaimed water in there. We're going to repurpose that as an emergency storage tank as part of the inline booster station, right? So just in case we ever need to pump some flow into that tank for whatever reason, we've got some belt and suspenders. So why is this booster station so much different than the repump station? Inline booster station is designed to keep a consistent pressure in the conveyance force main heading to Key Largo, right? So theoretically, you never really shut it off. You're always shoving flow, sometimes slowly, sometimes quickly, depending on what's happening upstream, right? How many people are flushing their toilets or washing their clothes or whatever. So you're not going to get that. Remember how I explained earlier the water coming back and forth and crashing into each other? This will prevent that from happening, all right? So this will take care of the transient problem. All of the installation corrections that we think may have occurred with this pipe will be identified when we do the conveyance force main analysis. The other thing that will be beneficial for the inline booster station is that we don't need any odor control, so there won't be any exposed wastewater. Right now, the green box has, wastewater odors can escape from the top, and it creates a problem for some of the homeowners and the business around that area. The red box is fully contained, and we won't have any problems with that. Okay. So now we have dates. With every consent order comes a lot of dates, sometimes extremely inflexible dates. The first date that occurs is that we need to sign the consent order 30 days after we get it. Or I think it was 12. I'm sorry, it was 12 days. Ron did that. He signed it. Then it goes back to the DEP and it's still not a living document until the agent at the DEP stamps it in, which she did on November 7th, which creates the effective date. And the effective date is important because the consent order dates are all referenced by the number of days from the effective date. So if you're really interested in reading this thing, and it says 30 days from the effective date is November 7th. The next thing that has to happen is we have to submit a compliance and implementation schedule by January 6th of next year. And basically what that says is, what are you going to do to comply, and when are you going to get it done? It's not a huge document. It's just something that has to meet all of the dates within the consent order. Another thing that has to happen is that they want, between now and the end of when the consent order gets complied with, which should be in about 2 years, they want biannual progress reports. Now, even though our effective date is November 7th, the biannual progress reports are due January and June of every year. So even though we're not 6 months away, January 30th, we have to give them a biannual progress report, and then we get a few months off. So it's not too bad. We're starting to develop our template for this so that we can hit that date without any problem. The emergency response plan is going to be due February 5th. We've contacted the DEP already, and we had a conversation with them about what their expectations are. I'm fully confident that we can get this draft in front of the village for review before we submit it. Again, this is the thing that was added as a new rule a few months ago. It's just something we would have had to done anyway. The inline booster dates, the specific dates for that, we need to have the inline booster completed by December 31st of 2027. Back in 2023, CHA, the designer, said that it probably can be built in a year. I think that's probably a good time frame. So if we can bid this job in the first quarter of next year, we should be able to get done 6 to 8 months early. And in this construction world right now, timing's everything, so the sooner we can get on the street, the better. And then once the construction is completed, we need to submit a certificate of completion to the DEP 30 days after that. The other thing that the consent order does is it gives the village a $10,820 penalty plus $500. And the village has the ability to pay that money, or they can do an in-kind project if they just, for that amount, multiplied times 1.5. So in other words, you can pay the DEP the $10,820 plus $500, or you can do an in-kind project for $10,820 times 1.5, or $16,230. There is a discussion on the agenda today about what that in-kind project's going to be. So I'm going to let that happen with somebody else because I don't know what it is. And but what's key to this is if the village council approves it today, then we need to go to the DEP 15 days after the effective date, which is going to be this Friday, and tell them this is what we're going to do. Otherwise, we're going to have to pay the fee. So AJ and I talked about that today, and we're going to make sure that happens. Unfortunately, if we do the in-kind project, we still have to pay them $500. That's just their administration fee. Other things that have to happen, we need to get village council to approve the conveyance force main analysis, which you guys did last week, Monday, I believe it was. We need to re-engage CHA to complete the design, which AJ did. Like I said, I talked to CHA this afternoon. We need to get them on board to do the engineering services during construction. The sooner we do that, the better. That way there's no delays. As soon as we're ready to go bid, they can help us do that. Wade Trin's been asked to do the construction inspection as the third-party inspector for the work. And then another thing that we're starting to work on is reviewing the way that EDUs are calculated within the area. So we're doing that as well. We're also, as Ron said in my introduction, we're also trying to amp up our coordination efforts with Key Largo. They have been and continue to look at our inline booster station design. They are also going to, be part of or pay attention to what we're doing with the conveyance force main analysis. They're interested in the pipeline because it does feed their plant, so I think we need to let them know what's going on. They've given us their design of some of their upgrades that they're doing at the plant, and we've been looking at those. They are upgrading their screening facility, and they're also adding some equalization volume at their plant. We have scheduled biweekly coordination meetings with Islamorada staff, Key Largo staff, and Wade Trim, talking about all of this, talking about the consent order, making sure that we're all working together to get it done. We're actually started talking about bidding our projects concurrently, thinking that we might be able to get some economies of scale with some of the contractors in the area. If we can get the same person building both facilities, there might be some opportunity there to save some money and some time. And then along with the upgrades to Key Largo's plant, we're looking to see if there's any costs associated with that plant that are attributable to the flows of what's coming down the pipe from Islamorada. The bad news is the cost. These are the costs that I know of to date. The inline booster station is going to be about $4 million, but like I said, that's 2 or 3 years old. The bidding and CEI services for Wade Trim and CHA to oversee that work is about, I'm guessing, about $800,000. The compliance work is about $350,000. The conveyance force main analysis is about $370,000, which comes to about $5.5 million that we know of today. What will increase that cost is updating the inline booster station construction estimate. We know that. I'm assuming there's going to be recommendations that come out of the conveyance force main analysis that will have some dollar amount to it. And then if there's any agreed to cost attributable to the village's flow to Key Largo's upgrades are also something that's going to have to be talked about. So we will update these as they come in. I did talk to CHA, and he said that they're almost done with the top one. So I will have that to Ron and AJ as soon as I can and for distribution. And that's what I have. So I'll take any questions if you have any.
Okay, who wants to start? Deb, you have some questions?
No, I guess maybe. I always have questions. I always have statements about wastewater. I've been involved way too many years. I was on that first council when we had some problems at North Plantation and the odor control and the other things that happened there. So I understand all that. So assuming everything continues on the path, when would you anticipate breaking ground on the booster station? January?
No, it's going to be after that. I'm guessing we wouldn't take bids till probably February, and I'm assuming it's going to take a month or two to get a contract approved through Village, so maybe March, April. Sooner the better, but realistically, it's going to take 2 to 4 months to get this done.
Just to start putting a shovel on the ground.
Just to put the shovel in the ground.
Right.
And then, again, if CHA says a year, it could be a little bit longer, but at least if we start in April and we think we're going to finish in April, that gives us, 8 6 months of float to make sure we get it done in time of the consent order.
I do think that we need to have a backup in that respect, is that not wait, not plan it that we're done in December when we have to report to DEP that
Right.
January.
Yeah.
Everything is always delayed in the Keys,
Yeah, yeah,
everything.
yeah.
I may have something else going on and let everybody else talk. Don?
Tom, thank you so much for coming here and giving the presentation. When did we get the permit for that pump station? I think you gave us the date on that one,
It was like 2023.
2023.
Yeah.
And you said that nothing had been done at that point. Do you know the reason why nothing had been done in 2 years?
So the village had engaged Key Largo in getting them involved in the design of review of the inline booster station. And the village and Key Largo were working through whether or not it should be an inline booster station or should it be a repump station. And there was some differences of opinions that went on for a while, which I think we've finally overcome.
So I've got a memo that was sent on November 2nd of '23, where it was sent from Ed Castle. I guess he's the engineer for Key Largo?
Key Largo, yeah, I know Ed.
Okay. And the way I read this memo, they were hesitant in the village following through with these macerator pumps. Is that still in the plan?
Yeah, I think they wanted the macerator pumps.
They did? Okay.
Just the opposite? Yeah.
Yeah, I think they
it's the
didn't
opposite.
want those.
They've
It
been
had something to
removed,
do with,
yeah.
they would have to upgrade their screening and the stuff up there at their plant.
Right.
It would cost a heck of a lot of money, and they thought there was a different way to do it. And so I guess the village, and forgive me, I've only been on the council now for a year and a couple of days. So the village wanted to do it their way, and Key Largo was asking them to do it a different way. Have we gotten past that hump?
We
at
are
this
past
point?
that. We are past that.
Okay. And so everybody's holding hands and agreeing that we're going to go a certain way, and we're good with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
As well as men hold hands.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's a lot of joy
I
in
know,
the streets,
that's
but
okay.
it's moving
As long as
forward.
we're working with Key Largo and
Correct.
they're working with us and we're getting along, I think that's most important. We seem to have this problem with, and us against them, and we all need to work together to get this fixed, and we all
Yeah.
need to be on the same page. to
I
get this
agree
fixed.
100%. I agree 100%.
I noticed a date on that pipe on one of the pictures you had, and I'm just wondering, did anybody do an analysis to see if maybe there was a flawed manufacturer during that date? Have there been any other complaints about this date on that pipe, and maybe it was just a bad run?
We looked at the pipe manufacturers. We didn't find any problems with PVC at that time frame that we'd had. So we don't think it's a manufacturing problem. We think it's an installation problem.
But you guys will continue just to follow up on this next study?
Absolutely. It's
and
part of the
figure out
scope of the
what that
work,
is.
yeah. We want to make sure that even when the inline booster station goes into operation, there isn't something else we're missing with respect to that pipe. Because I think if we put the inline booster station in and we continue to have some kind of a problem, it's not going to be very good. So we might as well make sure that, what we're doing is correct.
And I think just my last question is, do you think the dates, the timeframes in the DEP demand order are reasonable, that something that we can meet those target dates and not have a problem with those? Or do you think the DEP was really breaking hard on us and we should ask for a little bit more time? Or do you think they're reasonable dates?
No, I'm comfortable with the dates. the red box, I don't think is a difficult piece of construction. Now you're building it in a tight, confined area, right? And then you got to go into the coral. But there's enough good contractors around here that know how to do that. They've been working down here long enough. You
It's
know
not
that.
something, a module that we can bring in, something that's already pre-manufactured. We've
No.
got to build it on site.
That's got to be built on
Okay,
site. Yeah.
thank you. That's all I have.
Sure.
Steve, do you have anything?
No, thank you for the presentation. Appreciate
No,
it.
thank you.
Anna?
No, I think besides what Don said, the only other biggest thing is the smell, because it is horrendous just to walk by there. So, as long as
Like
that
I
all
said,
gets fixed.
I've been in this for 37 years. I know the smell.
Yeah, you can be across the highway and smell it.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah.
bad.
Yeah, for sure.
I appreciate everything you've done. I have been pushing for this for 3 years now, and my question was about realistic timing, which you already answered. And I am so glad everyone's singing Kumbaya now, because it was not very pretty a couple years ago. So I appreciate everything, and I look forward to getting this done.
Yeah, thank you.
May I add one
Of
thing
course.
or ask one thing? Don alluded to the timeframes and if it was long enough. Since we have to do progress reports every 6 months, as we're going down the road, I would assume that, there's that bad word, that you have a good enough relationship that if we find a snag in the thing, that we can talk to DEP about that, especially if we're doing progress reports every 6 months, and say, oh, here's this,
Yeah.
and
You know,
potentially get them to change dates if
yeah,
need be.
bad news gets worse with time, right? So and when there's if we have a problem, you know, hopefully we won't. Yeah, we'll go to the DEP right away, and we'll say, listen, we need some more time. I mean, look what we were supposed to be done with the wastewater program. What, 2010? Yeah, we were just kind of getting started, so we know how to get some things extended. So yeah, we're not going to wait. We're not going to wait. I think you know, to me, to your point, Mayor, and getting along, what'll really be a great story for me to be part of is to get this thing agreed to and show the strong positive relationship between Islamorada and Key Largo.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, we all appreciate you greatly. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Ron, are we going to Peter Rosasco next?
Yes, we have Peter here, and who's going to just mainly answer questions, and also we're going to recognize one of his board members is here, Sue Heim. Thank you for coming, Sue. We've been talking to not just Peter, but some of his board members too, to improve the relationship over the years. Peter and I go decades back, and I've known Sue for a while and some other members of their board, so we've really tried to reinforce the fact that we are on the same team. You know, we're their biggest customer, we want to work together, and Peter's been very good about, you know, being a facilitator with his members, and obviously I've tried to do it with you guys, and I think we've made a lot of progress, and I just asked Peter mainly to come to confirm that we're getting along and that we are going to try to work things out with him.
Good evening, council members and mayor, staff. So yes, I'm Peter Rosasco, and I've been the general manager at Key Largo Wastewater Treatment District since 2017. Over the last 45 years, I've represented every government in the Florida Keys with the exception of the co-op and the Florida Keys Aqueduct Authority, including the village. When the village incorporated, I was the second person that village hired to set up your finance department. I've been your finance director off and on a few times over the years as well. And right now helping you guys out in that a little bit as well with Hattie. With regard to, you know, I'm a CPA by profession, okay? I'm not an engineer. I do have our engineers here with us if there are any technical questions. I got involved with the wastewater business back when the bill was originally passed, requiring us to, you know, build this $1 billion project on the backs of, 80,000 residents of Monroe County. And my job was to figure out how do we pay for it without bankrupting our community. And the model that I developed was what everyone basically used to do that. As fast forward to today, I'm very fond of the village. I've always been very fond of the village, and I'm happy that we are now working together, communicating regularly and effectively. You are our largest customer, and we all share the same concern, and that is to protect our water quality in the Florida Keys, and which is where our economy comes from. So, we're happy that we're moving forward with this now. There were some issues in the past that weren't very pleasant, as the mayor said, but we're beyond that now. And we look forward to working, cooperatively with the village and bringing this project to completion and hopefully enjoying a very positive relationship going forward for many, many years. So I'd answer any questions you may have.
Well, I know from, since Ron came on board, you have been like the savior for a lot of things for us. So I greatly appreciate you, and I greatly appreciate the fact that you guys opened the door back up for us when it seemed to be almost shut. So I want to say thank you for that. Council, does anyone have anything they'd like to say? Deb, go ahead.
I just wanted to thank Peter too. Over the years, in the beginning, it was a very hard struggle here in Islamorada for us to decide what to do. We were trying to decide that financial idea of where to go to do the best and to do the best for water quality on top of it. And we finally got there. It was a hard road to get there, but it was there. And I appreciate the cooperation of Key Largo immensely over that time and now over this time. It's a difficult system. I reviewed the rate study that was presented to the council in '22, and I think Tony hit a nail on the head. It was really a difficult project, and as you said, on the backs of 80,000 people, without having to break everybody's back to do that. And I think that's the struggle that we're kind of at again, is that we want to do what's right for the people, but also do what's right for environment, which
Absolutely.
wastewater is directly related.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Don?
No, Peter, thanks for bringing this to the top. And I was very surprised before I was elected that the village couldn't get along with you. I've known you for, 35 years now, and
When I was the finance director, he was a building official.
yeah, right. And then even before then.
And even before then, yeah.
When I was with the county.
With the county, exactly.
And I've always found you a fair guy to work with, and I'm glad that we've stepped whatever boundary it is, and maybe that's bringing Ron on board, and whatever it is, I'm thankful that we've got you on our team and on our help, and I just want you to know that as this council member is looking forward to working our way through this the right way. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anna, anything?
Me, just simply thank you.
It's a pleasure to work with you guys. I'm sorry.
No, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to work with you guys, and I look forward to it. And as I said, we're going to have a productive and healthy relationship moving forward and solve all our problems and make the world a better place.
Thank you so very, very much. Okay? AJ, do we
A
go
couple
ahead?
points before he goes. I also work on Peter on the financial side because we want to get ahead of it. We know there's going to be some cost involved. We have some money set aside from past stewardship funds, for example. As you know, we put another request into our legislative delegation who were here last week, and we had a Zoom meeting, and I updated our request to add a request for state funds. I believe we asked for $750,000 more. That was just kind of a hold. I also have been in touch with our federal lobbyists because with the shutdown now ended, they're now resuming appropriations talks at the federal level. We didn't get any FQIP money last year, and we're going to obviously try to get that because they can backdate it. So we are already working on potential revenue sources for whatever this is going to cost. We know it's going to be a significant amount, but we already know that we need to start working on it now. As to the consent order, later in the agenda, Peter Frez is going to present. We already have identified the project we want to do as the in-kind. We've already submitted it to DEP. And we haven't got the approval, but we had to notify them, which has been done, that we're going to do that as a route. We've already got the specific project we're going to do. I think I've shared it with a couple of you that want to know where it was. And today we paid the $500 fine. So we're trying to meet it before the deadline's hit. So we're actually ahead of schedule as far as that stuff goes. And so we want to keep that pedal to the metal and get this thing going because we know the people in the village really want this resolved. It's been taking a few years, but we feel pretty good about the progress. And so I asked AJ to come tonight, who's in addition to being our public works director, is also head of wastewater, and he has the historical perspective in case there's any questions about where we are today and how we got here. So with that, I'll leave it to AJ.
AJ?
All right, yeah, good evening. I just get a lot of questions and comments and stuff about our system, so I just wanted to kind of go over a couple items that get brought up a lot, and then I'll have questions if I didn't touch anything you guys have questions on. A little bit about our system. We have over 88 miles of pipe in the ground that we maintain. We have 6 vacuum pump stations and over 500 grinder pumps that we also maintain within our system. We have a typical average daily flow of about 750,000 gallons a day that goes to Key Largo, and that is just under 70% of our allotted flow to Key Largo, which is 1.104 million gallons per day. One of the key things that get brought up a lot is I&I in our system. There is a penalty for salinity on a daily fine with our system to Key Largo. In the last 2 months during these king tides, we have identified 35 locations in the North Plantation Key area. These are common issues that you find, and we focus on certain areas to make those corrections. We'll camera the lines, find the locations, and identify them. Of those locations, 28 were ours, and 7 other locations were on the private side. All of those except one on the private side has been repaired to date, so we have reduced those numbers. Salinity, in the months of September and October, we had 19 days while we were making those repairs that we were over that 4.0 parts per thousand. Before that, we haven't had any salinity issues dating back until December of last year. So these are key to the king tide timeframes that we have these salinity issues. One of the other questions that get brought up a lot is our monthly billing to the residents and the commercial properties. We actually have a 3-part system to our bill, three separate items. The first one is FKA's admin fee. It's a flat rate of $10.56 per account. The second component is a base charge, and that's a per EDU. So every residential unit is 1 EDU, which is 157 gallons per day is the average flow for a residential, and that's what everything is based off of. That rate is $6.52 per 1,000 gallons, but as a residential unit, we have a capped capacity of 12,000 gallons for the monthly bill. So a typical max monthly bill that would be for a resident would be $129 is the kind of the cap on it. On the commercial side of it, there is no cap. It's a continuous flow. There are no other.
AJ, go through
Go
that
ahead.
again, because I've got a bill I'm actually
Okay.
trying to
No
walk
problem.
with you on. So go through.
Okay, the FKA admin should be $10.56 is a flat rate, and that's just one flat rate for them to collect the fees, the monthly fees,
Okay.
and that goes to FKA. Our side of it, we have a base charge, and that's a per EDU. There are 2 rates. There are 2 zones. We have the MPK, which is the original phase 1 of the system, and that has a $30.04 per EDU. The RSA, which is the remaining service area, has a $40.41 per EDU. And then your flow rate is $6.52 per 1,000 gallons.
Okay.
You good? Mm-hmm. Go ahead, AJ.
Thank you, AJ.
So,
Go ahead.
may I?
Yep.
Oh, go ahead, sorry. So the admin fee was raised once, I believe, since the beginning,
Correct, yeah.
not too long ago.
I think it was
Maybe a
last year, yeah.
Yeah, maybe a year. And the EDU rate, are we going to, you're going to get into that later?
That's as far
I mean,
as.
there's a flat fee of, I'll say $30, 30-something for the original area. What'd you say, 35? 30?
It's $30.04.
$30.04, there you go. That was for the North Plantation, and that was a policy decision at the time, so people understand why that's $30 and the rest of the area is $40 and some change. It was a policy decision because they took a lot of the blunt of what was going on, and there was grant money involved in some of it, and so it was a policy decision to leave that at a lower rate per EDU
Correct.
for that area.
For NPK.
Yes,
MPK.
just for
Okay.
MPK,
And then 4041 is what they charge.
for the rest of
The
the area.
RSA on
For
everybody
the
else.
rest,
Right.
correct.
Right.
Okay, I'll talk about some of the others later. Go ahead.
Okay. The last one that gets brought up a lot is on new development. So when the system went in, it was assessments, and it was based off of the EDUs. For residentials, it was just one EDU per residential unit. For commercial, it was the first 10 EDUs were at a specific rate, and then the following, anything beyond 10 was at a different rate. They're no longer, as the system is built, it's no longer an assessment, so it's a system development charge. So if you come in and you want to do renovations, new construction, whatever it may be, we go through and review the plans, analyze them, and look and see if there's any increase in capacity that is needed to be bought into the system. And that's what these system development charges are. But the first 10 EDUs, the current rate is $7,184.31. And beyond 10 EDUs, it's a discounted rate of $2,067.39. And those are specifically for commercial properties.
I'll add in, that was another policy decision at the time, because we did some of the math, and on the small businesses, it wasn't just small businesses, it was going to be a staggering figure. And so we worked with Tony's group, mostly.
Raftellus.
Raftellus, yeah, and they helped us come up with how we can do this to make it a little bit more fair and balanced for everybody and not overcharge business, but not overcharge residents. So if anybody wonders how we got to that 10, it was a push and shove and see where it came out. It's exactly where it came from. Go ahead.
All right.
Sorry.
Nope, the only other comment I have is we get asked a lot is, are there any pending wastewater connections? So these were existing homes, facilities, whatever they may be, that had a septic or some other type of system that is not tied in. We have gotten that number down to 3, so we still have 3 properties that are still pending. I think 2 are residential and 1 is commercial, but we are working through that and getting them closer and closer to compliance. And
Just for
that's what I
general,
got, yeah.
just for general information, again, for the council, maybe 4 years ago, we looked at it, we were at 5 or 6, and it was tasked to work on those. We have been, it's a challenge to try to close those out. But the fact that we have as many as we do, we've got, how many?
3
EDUs?
left, yeah.
Oh, no, how many EDUs overall in this town?
Oh, total, we have,
It's like 6,000?
we have 4,715 accounts.
Okay, so out of 4,000, for us to have 3 that we can't seem to get closed is pretty good. It's not good enough, but it's pretty good.
Don, would you like to say something?
AG, in that, Deb referred a couple of times to the Raftellus report. And in their report, they recommended that the village develop an annual EDU review process so that the data is current and to, work on the EDU calculations. Have we gone through and done an audit recently on businesses that may have changed hands or changed uses, created an intensification of use, or even a less intense use and audited the EDU and what they're charged for?
Yes, we do have a program that reviews that. It's named AIMS, and it's a program that we use on the billing side of it, and we can compare the total EDUs, what they were assessed, if they're, exceeding that, whatever it may be. But we use that as a reference anytime somebody comes for a development, change of use, whatever it may be. We always review those EDUs, and if say there's an increase in EDUs with the project, so there'll be additional fees with the system development charges for that increase, and they'll owe that before they actually get their CO.
And is there something that, if there's a huge increase in their water bill, is there something, notification that the aqueduct may send the village and say there's a disparity here? It looks like, they're using more than what would be 1 EDU or 2 EDUs when there's, a high water usage, different from, what you normally expect out of a business or out of a house.
Gotcha. Yeah, we do monitor it to see if there's any great uses. I think we've hit it one time on where we found somebody that was only assessed 1 EDU, and they were actually in more of the 10 to 11 range. And then we came to them and had discussions with that as far as bringing them up. We automatically will change their monthly bill, but the system development to buy into the capacity of the system, we've had those discussions.
What do you mean you have a discussion? Do you just go in there and say you're using
With the
equivalent of 10 EDUs and we're gonna,
With the property owner, yeah, that there was something that was missed during the assessments, whether they were wrongly assessed.
and then would they be assessed at that, would we catch them up if it's $7,000 an EDU? Would they then have to pay for the additional 6 EDUs that they were not charged correctly?
If so, yeah, we would work that out to try to make that happen.
It's a legal thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Along those same lines, if we have somebody come in and they've changed and we've seen a little bit of this, but I don't know what we've seen on the building side of it. Like a restaurant, which is much higher use of water, to a retail store of some sort, They have less EDUs. Have we lowered anybody's EDUs?
So yes, we have lowered EDUs, and that comes with the change of use.
Okay.
So if, in that case, they had 10 EDUs and they're now down to 2, their monthly bill would be changed to that. We would not give a refund for the buy-in to the capacity, but it would be noted on that property. So if it changed to use and went up again, they had already banked.
Why wouldn't we do a buy-in for the less?
That would be a policy decision you guys would want to give us direction to, if that's the case.
Over all the years, I've never heard this discussion before.
Yeah,
so-
it's not very common that happens, so.
Okay.
But we've had a couple properties that, it may have been a hotel or
So-
something like that, and
Yeah.
it's changed.
So if somebody has paid it off completely, that's one thing, but if it's still on their tax bill, that's another. Somebody says, when I sold Sunset, I was asked if I wanted to pay it off or roll the EDUs to the tax assessment, the tax bill to the new owner, and I rolled it. So I don't know who gets a refund or whatever if something like that happens. But you're saying that it's a policy that we don't do the refunds on the assessment.
No, it's not a common thing that we have where they do decrease, no.
Okay.
But we do make
I
note of it on the
probably
property,
believe
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I think it's probably more common the other way around, but,
Yeah, the other way, with an increase, it's much more common.
okay.
You done?
Yeah, at some point of time, can we see those policies? I don't think I've ever seen them.
Sure.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. I'm going to go back to the daily fine thing, which is the first time I'm hearing this. A daily fine is when there's salinity in the pipeline going to, and then you keep talking about king tides. How does the water from the king tide get in the pipe to go to Key Largo?
So there'd be a break in the system.
You didn't say break in
Yeah,
the
no,
system.
yeah, so it's usually on the gravity side. So the connection points from a home, where it's normally the water table's not that high, but during the king tides, it may come up. So they could have been, one of them, they installed a fence and they nicked the pipe, so it's got a crack in it, things like that.
So when you say daily fine, do you have a amount of money that these daily fines have cost us?
Yeah, so the daily fines are anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000.
And how many have we paid? Do you know?
For this, and for this calendar year, we've had 19 days.
Okay. Anna, do you have anything for AJ? Steve?
No, I think a lot of the questions I had were already asked and answered. Thanks.
Okay.
I have one more about I&I since you brought it up. I do know that over the years that we've worked very hard in Islamorada, and thank you, AJ, for finding that intrusion of water. And some of that stuff you can't find until we have the king tides, correct?
Correct.
And as time moves on, of course, things change, so it might have been fine during the last, it might have been okay during the last king tide, but this king tide, it shows again. And your systems now will tell you where that's happening, right?
So when
How do you find it?
Yeah, when we do the preventative maintenance, so we'll look at and open up the vacuum pits. It's typically in our vacuum side or buffer tanks. We'll open it up, and every time they do preventative maintenance, we always drop a salinity meter and to test the water to see if the salinity's up. If you've got a pit that's firing more often than it should, it's a clear sign that you have some type of intrusion. So we'll check it. We will camera the lines and back up towards the house, whatever it may be, to find those locations.
Okay. Ron? Anything else for AJ? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ron, do you want to do public comment before we go on, or what do you want, how do you want to do?
I think the public may have some questions while the people are still here.
Okay.
Maybe the public can come and ask
Marty?
either questions or make their points.
Do we have anybody, Marty, or does anybody,
I don't have anyone signed up.
does Sue Miller come on up? She's not signed up? She's going to run up there.
I wasn't up on the agenda, but I thought you.
Yeah.
I do have a few questions.
Just a few.
Sue Miller, Lower Matacumbe. First question I have is, we have a lot of problems. Whose fault is it? The force main issue, I was wondering how they have identified that it's 1 mile. If it's a problem with the PVC, don't we have 11 miles of PVC? And why did we select PVC when the rest of the village, the force main is different? And why didn't we use the same pipe for the whole thing? Because it looks like the PVC is questionable. As far as the manual
Wait,
for...
so do you want an answer to the PVC
Well,
question before you go on? or
I
you
don't
wanna
know whether
stack 'em
I'm
up?
being timed. If I'm being timed, I'd rather just
Oh, no,
answer.
I wasn't going to time you, but go ahead, dude.
If I can, I think while we've got
That's-
the engineers here and everything.
That's what I was gonna do.
It's worth having Sue ask her questions, because I can't give you the
I'm
answer.
not worried about the 3
And I
minutes.
think we need those answers.
So let's deal with the PVC first, okay? Don't worry about the 3 minutes, all right?
Oh, okay.
So
I get
who would answer the-
that
Don't
little
answer that
thing
one.
there
Don't even
makes
worry
me
about it.
very nervous.
Don't
Oh,
worry
no,
about
no,
it. I'll
it's
let you know.
okay.
So
I
who
think
would answer
these
the
need to be
PVC
vetted
question?
I can answer that one.
Go ahead.
Go on. So the material is a combination of the PVC and HDPE. The majority of our HDPE was during the directional bores, so those are all the pipe that's directional bored underneath the bridges, all the bridge crossings, anything that went underneath the road that were they directional bored, that was an HDPE. And then
See,
it's a
Sue, he's
combination.
saying high-density polyethylene.
I know what
Okay.
it is.
And then the rest of it was, all the trench was the PVC. So anything that was trenched and open trench was done with PVC.
Even in the rest of the village.
Absolutely, yeah. on both the vacuum, the low pressure, and the force main.
Okay. So that brings me to the emergency response manual that was part of the consent agreement. My concern is the pipe that goes under 7 of our bridges. And there's a sign at each location that those mains go under the channel 45 to 50 feet below the channel. And I watched them install it, and it looks like a really severe angle. And I was just curious if we have a process, because I hate it when I see on the news that we've had another break in our raw sewage line. But if we ever heard that, and it was a raw sewage line going under a channel, going to the ocean or the bay, I think we would all probably have a nervous breakdown. And so I wonder if we do inspections of those lines, if there's an emergency procedure, because I never, ever want to hear about a break underwater. So do you want to answer that?
Sure. So those directional bores are that HDPE, and it's a very durable pipe. That pipe has a lifespan of 50 to 100 years. But separate from that, we do have at every bridge crossing, we do have emergency bypasses. So for whatever reason, if there was a break somehow, we do have the capability of laying pipe basically on the shoulder of the bridge from one end to the other and tying that in as an emergency bypass.
Okay. So
How long would that take?
To store that much pipe on site, that wouldn't happen. So you would have to, in an
So we wouldn't be
emergency.
able to flush for 24 hours or for 4 days or?
Duration, I don't have a time frame for that. But like I said, that pipe, the durability of that pipe is 50 to 100 years.
And so you don't find there's any need to inspect it?
You cannot inspect the pipe like that under, I mean, besides sending like what we're doing on the one section.
Well, you know, I hear the engineers say, or whoever said, that there was an installation problem.
that's one solid pipe from this end to this end. There's no joints. It's
Right.
one solid HDPE pipe. So there's not the joints that Tom spoke
And,
about.
and we never have a malfunction of a pipe. Pipes are always perfect. Okay.
So that pipe was basically cored through the coral, and it's encased in that coral.
That's what makes me
Basically-
nervous, because coral cuts.
Well,
So, question number 4. Why do we give a discount for volume? It just seems to me that it discourages conservation of water and therefore wastewater. And I just don't see that that's a good policy to give discounts for, and you know, we have our largest resorts are probably the most profitable businesses we have, and yet we give them huge discounts going from, what is it, $7,000 per EDU down to $2,000 per EDU, rough numbers. And it just seems to me that I don't know whether that's a policy decision that can be changed, but it just seems like it's a little backwards, that we shouldn't be giving volume discounts. We also give volume discounts to residents who use over 12,000 gallons. And I think we should encourage everybody to use less, be conservative, and if you're using it for a sprinkler system or some other use that doesn't go back into the wastewater system, you should encourage people to get a second meter for that purpose, which wouldn't be charged by the Aqueduct Authority. The EDU counts, I did a public record request for the EDU counts for every property in Alamorada, and I looked at every single one of them, all 4,700, and I found it just, the commercial ones were just all over the place, and it didn't seem, just knowing the businesses, the numbers just didn't seem to be very realistic. And yet, I did that about a month ago, and we're hearing now that there is a process that's being used to adjust those EDU counts. I don't think that is happening in an equitable way, if it is happening at all, because the businesses that I looked at, I can name you some specific properties that are one EDU that should be many more than that. And it was because they converted from one business to another, a change of use, and not yesterday or the day before, but years ago. And so I don't think that we have the right process in place to update our EDU counts. And I think that if we did that, I don't believe that we get a record from the Aqueduct Authority that gives us the water usage for every property in Alamorada that has a water meter. If we do, I want to make a public record request tonight, but I don't think we have that information, so I don't know how we would actually make those adjustments, and it's really important. I think we need to get that information and adjust our rates or our EDU counts as quickly as possible, because we are in a financial bind, and it's only fair that the people that are using the system are paying fair and square. And I think that's all the questions I have. Thank you
Sue.
very much.
Thank you.
I do follow up, Duke.
Well, I was going to ask you about the volume discount. Would that be a change that would be made through the council?
Yeah, well, she asked a couple questions, and I'll read it the way there was asked. Why does village policy provide a volume discount for wastewater costs to the larger developments, resorts, marinas, restaurants of more than 10 EDUs? So I'd asked AJ to respond to that. So do you want to give a quick response to?
Sure. The volume discount that I think she's mentioning is the system development charges. So if there's any increase in expansion that go beyond the 10 EDUs, there is a reduction of cost per EDU to buy into the capacity of the system. There are no discounts for anything monthly payments or anything like that for water usage.
So it's only on the system development side of the
Correct.
house?
Correct.
And once you reach a certain threshold, you've covered the cost for the system development?
Correct.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about that?
Go ahead.
From looking at the numbers that I got from a public record request, it looks like to me, and maybe I'm not looking at it right, that that number, if it's over 10, let's say it's 15 EDUs, that the initial charge is for a certain percentage. And then the next number for the Aqueduct Authority is based on a third of the cost, because you're not charging for the full.
No, it's if it's 15 EDUs, it's 15 EDUs. It's only on the system development charge when they first buy into the system.
So on the Aqueduct bill, if it's 15 EDUs, they would be charged for 15 times the $40 per month. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, Ron.
One other question, which I think the vice mayor will appreciate. Is Sun Communities paying their fair share of wastewater cost? I guess that's another question for AJ.
Look at the grin on his face. I don't think he wants to answer that.
Well, the reason I'm just because these are out there in the public, and I said to some people, I want to get as many answers tonight while we have all the experts in the crowd and all, and people are watching specifically for wastewater. I keep getting these questions, as I know the vice mayor has, about certain particular places like Sun Communities, which has other issues. Are that, as Sun Communities, which was originally a different use, are they paying their fair share of wastewater costs as they sit today?
AJ?
I'd have to look at it specifically. I don't know that one, but I do know that they are an RV park and there are other things. So they're not set as an equivalent as one EDU per unit. It's based off of the total water usage for the property itself.
How many EDUs were they charging?
That I don't know. I don't have that info on me.
I think it was probably charged similar to a commercial.
50. And they have 55 homes and over 100 RVs and a huge commercial, non-residential community center.
I do know that there are 3 separate parcels. They were not unified.
And
Yeah,
the
right,
total
one-
is
right,
50.
One used to be San Pedro, one was, right, okay.
Correct.
One was a
So
residence.
that actually went against them when they paid their system development charges. Their first 10 EDUs at each location was at full rate.
Oh, there you go.
I looked at all 3. I looked at all of them.
Okay, Ron, do you have anything else?
And I just want to make the point that if anybody in the community or watching tonight has any questions, please email us. I'll try to get to the answers, because I keep hearing certain things out in the community that may or may not be accurate, but if we're not answering the questions, we're going to continue to be asked. So if you have a question or you think there's a particular place that may not be paying their fair share, let us know, and I'll ask AJ and our engineers to check it out and answer those questions, because it's either fair or it isn't. And so I encourage everybody that's watching or in the audience to get in touch with us, and if you have a concern, let us know.
Anyone else have any public comment besides Sue? Okay, thank you very much. All right, Ron?
What year did we determine EDUs? Do you know? Lily, you were
In the
involved.
early 2000s,
2000, yeah.
very early 2000s.
Yeah.
There was a conversation, I recall, back in 2004.
Yeah, that's what I would have
Yeah.
guessed. Okay. That's close enough.
All right, Ron?
We now have a resolution. As you recall, we had this on our agenda last week, but because we were having the wastewater meeting, we were asked to move it to the tonight. So I guess AJ will be presenting it as for the SCADA, Wastewater Support Services, SCADA.
Yes, item 8A, a resolution of the Village Council of Islamorada, Village of Islands, Florida, approving annual support agreement between Star Controls, Inc. and Islamorada, Village of Islands to provide SCADA wastewater support services as needed for fiscal year 2025-26, authorizing a total not to exceed, providing for implementation, and providing for an effective date.
AJ?
All right. So this is our first continuing service agreement with Star Controls. They, in 2003, we bid the project out, and they were the winning contractor to update each of our vacuum pump stations with our new SCADA system. That process has come to an end as far as the implementation and fixing any issues that may be at hand with it. The system operates and is working great, but we do need a continuing services agreement. We get help both with our IT. They work hand in hand with our tying into our network and system. But this would be the first years of operational help.
Okay, before any public comment, Marnie? Sue?
No, ma'am.
Well, Sue?
Thank you for indulging me.
You're fine.
Sue Miller, Lower Matacumbe. I live at the upper end of Lower Matacumbe, and I was promised a SCADA system, and we don't have one. We have the box at the end of the street that shows that it was originally installed, but it has never been operational. And if you remember a few months ago, I came before you to talk about the wastewater system, and when I left my house, they were putting in a new grinder pump at my house because mine failed, and there was no SCADA system to warn of that. The alarm failed, and the light the red warning light failed, so I had to call a plumber. I didn't have to. I did call a plumber when the thing started backing up, and the plumber came down from Key Largo, charged me, but it was a failed grinder pump that had to be replaced. And I think that the people that have grinder pumps on Lower Matacumbe and elsewhere deserve a SCADA system just like the rest of you. And I don't understand why we don't have a SCADA system when we're talking about everybody else having one. Thank
AJ,
you.
you want to answer that?
Yeah, sure. So,
We're grilling him.
yeah, no, when I took over the wastewater department, the system that was in place for the grinder stations was a high tide system. It was utilized radio frequencies and kind of daisy chain between each other to call out if there was an emergency. That system was never in 100% operation. It never worked. We were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars every year for a system that never worked. We would get called out by the residents because they would hear the alarm, or it'd be flashing red saying, hey, there's something going on. We've got our number on the box, so they would call us. So it was a policy decision to eliminate those expenses, but to look at a different system. That is in our future plans to build out our SCADA system to reincorporate the grinder stations. But it's a process right now.
So how important is the SCADA system for the rest of the village? Do they have other warning lights and sirens, or do they only have a SCADA system?
So that SCADA system is at our 6 vacuum pump stations, where at each of the grinder stations that we have over 500 would be located at each station.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Don, before you jump in, I'm watching Tom shaking his head. Do you want to, we have you here, is there anything you want to say? I'm watching him agree, so we might as well utilize him.
I thought he was doing
before he
great.
goes back to Tampa, let's use him.
The only, it did work. It did work. It didn't work when you were here. It worked. It worked, and then I think your contract operator during their watch decided not to invest the money to keep it working, right? And it probably, I don't know for sure, but I know it did work when we left. And my guess is that the contract operator just let it go to save some money perhaps, which is the risk of contract operations, unless you got somebody watching. So, when he got it, it probably wasn't working, and to invest the money, to your point, to get it to work, I think first of all, I think what you're doing is correct at the vacuum pump stations, and I do agree with Sue in terms of getting them at the grinder pumps. The technology today is better than it was 10, 15 years ago, but it's not cheap.
But you would recommend we do it?
I would recommend you look at it, yeah, and see if it's worth the cost to do it. I'm not sure exactly what the cost would
Don,
be.
did you want to say something?
I actually had a question for Sue. It was your grinder pump that went bad on your property, Sue? Or was it part of his vacuum system?
No, it was your grinder pump as a village.
Okay, so it was on your property, and you're part of the grinder pump program,
Yes.
and that went
You
bad?
got it.
Right.
Now you got it.
Okay, so,
And all of my neighbors have had grinder pumps go bad. And, 5 years ago, when they were virtually just installed, there would be a siren, and the siren was so loud that people from adjoining neighborhoods would come to find out what the siren was, and it was so loud you couldn't tell what home it was coming from.
I know the feeling. I had the cops at my house wanting to know what alarm was going off at my house.
Yeah.
They thought it was my house alarm
And
that was going off, and it was the grinder pump
the most
alarm,
recent-
and I wasn't even home, so the cops are going around my house like, what is going on at Don's house?
Right.
Or, they didn't know it was my house, but this house, because there's an alarm going off, they couldn't figure it out, and the place was swarming with cops.
And so the more recent ones, within the last 2 or 3 years, have had no sirens and no lights. There's a red light. I did have a red light go on one night, and I thought, oh, I don't want to call the village at midnight. I'll wait until morning. And when I waited
dangerous.
till morning, the green light was back on.
Thank
The
you.
no light was on.
Deb, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, I understand why we haven't redone the SCADA system, but why wouldn't we put the light system, why aren't we checking that? It could be a burned out light bulb, you know?
So they do check them, but yeah, in between the maintenance of it, sometimes there's an issue. Some residents get very angry with it, and there used to be a little reset button on them.
Is there a volume control on the alarm?
No,
No,
No, it's just one,
correct.
cool,
I don't remember that.
thanks.
But you do check them on a regular basis?
Correct.
Like once a year?
Yeah, no, yeah, during our preventative maintenance, which is
I
a
don't,
minimum
I don't
once
know
a
when
year.
that happens,
Yeah,
whether
it's
that's once a
minimum
year or once a month, say.
Yeah,
Okay, so once a year,
yep, minimum.
okay,
You good?
yeah.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, it seems to me since we're going through this process, doesn't it make sense to kind of prioritize this analysis and see what it's going to cost so then we can start thinking about budgeting it? And since we're kind of wrapping it all up in here, and maybe it's something we can do, maybe it isn't, but we need to at least find out what it's going to cost.
So how do we go about doing that? Ron, is that something?
Yeah, we'll talk to the engineers, and obviously Tom has a long history, and AJ, I'll get Tom and AJ together, we'll figure it out.
Thank you. Okay, any more public comment? Okay, council?
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Marnie, would you call the roll, please?
Vice Mayor Don Horton?
Yes.
Councilmember Deb Gillis?
Yes,
Councilmember Steve Friedman?
Yes.
Councilmember Anna Richards?
Yes.
And Mayor Sharon Mahoney.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, are we moving into Peter Frezza now?
Yeah, I just want to do, while Peter's coming up, let me, as I mentioned, the executed consent order is attached to the agenda. It's on our website. On paragraph 10, it says, in lieu of making cash payment of $10,820 in civil penalties, respondent, meaning the village, may elect to offset this amount by implementing an in-kind penalty project which must be approved by the department. And it says that if we choose to implement in-kind rather than paying the penalty, we shall notify the department of its election by certified mail within 15 days of the effective date of the order. We've already done that. We've notified them that we don't want to pay the fine, we want to do a project. And then it says, notwithstanding the election to implement the in-kind project, payment of remaining $500 in costs must be paid within 30 days. We pay that today. So we're within all the time constraints. But I wanted Peter to come tonight because we want to explain what the project is. It's a very nice project. It actually exceeds the amount we're required to spend by a couple $1,000s. But I thought it was important for the public to understand that we're complying and that it's actually a pretty nice project. So I wanted to leave it to Peter to explain the project.
Go ahead, Peter, showtime.
Okay, well, thank you for that background, Ron, and good evening, council. So I won't explain all that. You understand why we're proposing this. So we are electing to propose a environmental restoration project, which is one of the forms of the in lieu projects that we can elect to participate in. And as you know, we have asked for the approval of the DEP. So the location of this restoration project is shown in this figure there. Thanks, Frank. So I know you all are very familiar with this location. We are talking about the bay side of Winley Key. This is directly across from the Three Waters Resort. This is the vacant, disturbed, empty property that has been used for many purposes over the decades, right? Historically, it was a parking lot. Most recently, it was a staging location for construction staging for the water main replacement project. This is a DOT-owned property, so it is state-owned. It is leased to the village. And interestingly, we are required to restore a part of this property. So that would go hand in hand very well with what we're proposing here. So the area shown in that red polygon, that's the area we're proposing to restore. It's about 10,000 square feet. It's fill material. What we are proposing are green buttonwoods at a number of 175, spaced at 8 foot on center. The reason we're proposing buttonwoods is because this is a fill material. It floods seasonally with salt water. It floods with fresh water, extremely low nutrients. There's not many plants that are probably going to become well established here. Green buttonwoods are bulletproof. They will become established here. Once they become established and stabilize the soil more, we probably will have mangroves recruiting in from the water side and maybe even some upland species recruiting in from the landward side. So we feel this is an excellent project. I think it's going to take, Someday this will be filled in with buttonwood and mangrove hardwood species. We think it's reasonable. We think the DEP will look fondly on this and accept this. We hope they do. And in your agenda item, your package here, you'll see we have a proposal from Tim Matthews Tree and Landscaping. You all know Tim, I'm sure, a highly reputable company. They are in the village's landscaping library. Always a reasonable cost with Tim, too. We have an estimate for $18,812. And as Ron said, we're slightly over the required amount. And yeah, with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about our proposed project.
Thank you, Peter. Who wants to start? Deb, you go first this time.
Okay. I do have a question on, but you alluded to it, that in that area that we already are going to be required to do some restoration. I was going to say, is it cost effective, although I like the project, is it cost effective to spend almost $19,000 versus $10,000 to do the mitigation like that? Did we think about that, or did we just, I don't know what we were going to be required to do anyway on that property, so.
Okay, so it's a good question. So the cost that we were required to is actually a little over $16,000. It's
yes.
1.5. So we can't restore more than that, really, because there's power lines in the way, and there's actually an access area, the DOT access area that we wouldn't want to plant in. So is it worth it? We think it's reasonable is the way to put it. This is going to be funded through our landscape or habitat restoration fund.
That we have money in.
Oh, yes. We need to be completing these projects. We were actually already talking about completing a planting project in this area. It's a wonderful location for habitat restoration. So do we feel it's worth it? Absolutely. From a environmental standpoint, I personally think it's well worth it.
Okay, and then the secondary part is that was leased to the village as a hurricane cleanup property, where we could store until we could get stuff out of here. Do we have an idea of what we're going to do when we have a hurricane if we don't have this property?
Right, another good question. And so I've talked about that with AJ. This is such a large enough property, we would not impact debris staging at all.
Okay.
There is plenty of room in that area there, more than enough. So we're only proposing that 10,000 square foot area there that kind of pushed into the mangroves anyway. So your answer is we will not be impacting that.
So in reference to my first question, you said that in your presentation there, you said that we were going to be required to do some mitigation on that property anyway.
Right. There was no reference to where or how much.
On that property?
Correct.
And that came not with this consent order, that was completely separate?
Correct.
Okay, that's strange.
You good?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
Go
done.
ahead, Don.
Asked and answered, all of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anna? Steve?
Yeah, I think it's great. To me, it seems like it's a discount almost.
I
you know.
agree. I agree.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you,
Okay,
Peter.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, public comment?
No one signed up.
Sue? Just checking. Okay, council? Any discussion?
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
Marnie?
Councilmember Anna Richards?
Yes.
Councilmember Deb Gillis?
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Friedman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Don Horton?
Yes.
And Mayor Sharon Mahoney.
Yes.
That motion passes 5-0.
Okay.
I have a closing question here.
Yeah, I had a couple of things I wanted to figure out, too.
Okay, Deb, go ahead.
Well, we heard this, I've seen this happen before, namely in 2022. We have this nice presentation, we have all this good information, and we don't decide anything. What do we need to make a decision on so we can move forward?
I think we already have.
The rate study.
Okay, we didn't talk about actually doing a rate study.
that was part of Tom's presentation.
No, he
and
talked about the old rate study.
Well, but moving forward, I plan on having on the December agenda, I would need to find out more about how to ask for it. And then we also want to make sure we get some credit if we use the same people, that they're the ones that did the 2022 and I think the 2013. So we have to negotiate, I want to negotiate the best price we can get for it and how exactly it's going to be structured. But I do think we need another rate study. If we're going to run the wastewater like a business, then you have to kind of know what it should be. And we can't rely on a 2022 study. But I do want to bring it back to you in December, ask for approval to proceed with a new rate study.
I just don't want to leave this meeting without moving forward the reason that we called the meeting. So if there's a decision that we're supposed to be making, which when I looked at that presentation that night, they were specifically asking for a couple things, and they didn't get an answer out of council on either one. And going forward, I don't think there was, not that that would happen here, but I don't think that there was ever some of those subjects brought up. That's the reason we had the whole discussion about AIMS program, is I couldn't find it in any of the minutes. I couldn't find that we actually implemented it or whether we were using it or not using it. I couldn't find, did we actually, that study asked us to make a decision on whether we should refinance. Did that go forward? Did we not do it? Why did we not do it? Did we do it and it didn't work? What happened, you know?
Well, since Tom's here, I think, yeah, he's still here. Maybe Tom can give us a little history, because I did talk to him a little bit about the rate study. He thought it'd be about, what, 45 to 60 days that it would take to do a rate study. And it would be my plan to bring it back to you for the council approval, and whatever they recommend, I would say it's your final decision. I think what happened in the past was there was a change of managers, et cetera, and the ball was just kind of dropped and nobody ever did anything. And I do think that it'd be my plan at least to, number one, approve a rate study. Number two, bring it to you and see, do you want to implement whatever it recommends? I don't know in advance what they're going to recommend, but I certainly think if we want to get this thing back on its feet and quit having a deficit every year, we better do something quickly.
Deb, if I can.
Tom, did you want
Can
to
you
add
add in?
something?
Yeah,
Sure.
I think maybe I can help Deb a little bit, because I had the same question. I want to make sure that when we leave tonight, that you've got enough information, enough direction to move forward. What I read in the minutes from that March 31st, 2022 meeting is that there was no direction given to the then city manager, and so right after that we had the March 31st meeting. I actually spoke at that meeting and asked for a rate study, and for us to follow what Key Largo Waste Treatment District was doing in that, and that's in the minutes. And they just, the minutes don't show where the council gave the acting manager, which was Maria, any direction to move forward. And the Raftella study had 4 different suggestions to do something, which actually would have helped us, because the very first thing was that they were wanting the rates to increase by 1% annual index without the refunding. And I guess that interest rates apparently were much lower back then, and their recommendation was to refund. I call it a refinance, but
That's what I
it's
call
a refund. This is what they're calling it. And there was no direction. And then the next meeting on April 21st, there was absolutely no discussion. And I think that's when the village manager, when they changed managers, and I think that's when the guy with the proud of his muscles came in town, and then all of a sudden he went away, and then they started having another interim, and then they had discussions about choosing Yates, because they were interviewing different ones, and then all of a sudden they go through that process and they hire Yates, and at the same time, I guess that's when Roger resigned, and so we hire Weiss Rhoda in May of 22, and Glad we got Weiss Serota back, because I worked with them in the early 2000s. And then finally in June is when they actually hired Yates. So everything just kind of fell out from underneath, and nobody actually followed up and said, we need to go back and revisit the conclusion that Raftellus had. I think it's important for staff to have clear direction so that we don't have that happen again, and we go back and nothing on you either. You weren't on that council. No. That was Pender, Gregg, Rosenthal, Jolin, and Webb. So I think it's just we need to make sure that you.
Jolin wasn't on that council.
Oh, she wasn't? Okay.
Peter was.
Pete. Oh, yeah. Pete Bassler was. I'm sorry. And just have enough. You have enough direction from this council. Your damn popcorn cart.
Popcorn. So.
That's your fault. That you have enough direction that we just don't drop the ball and we get this done. That's all.
And for the public's benefit too, I want to say that, Pat may not know this, but every week I meet with you individually or speak to you by phone. So I generally get pretty good direction from you individually. For the public meetings, I always like to confirm what we've talked about. But I think I have clear direction that we need to have another rate study done, and that whatever it says, then you'll have to act on it. I've also made a commitment that we will take a look at the EDU situation, if that's part of the rate study. If not, we'll do it separately. I think some questions have been raised about EDUs that need to be answered. So once again, any questions that the public has, we want to answer them, but they have to ask them. But I think the rate study, unless somebody tells me otherwise, is a clear direction. We're moving forward, and I just don't have all the details to ask for a motion, because I want to negotiate something with Tom's help and others and Peter's help, and then come back to you on the December meeting. So we'll be setting an agenda probably in a week or so to get ready for the December 9th meeting.
So I just don't want, Don has expressed it, I've tried to express it. I don't want to happen what happened last time, where there was recommendations and they never got acted on. There was extenuating circumstances of why that didn't happen, but it didn't happen, and now we're in a worse position, probably because of that. And if we should always, in our financing, should always be looking at whether or not we should refund as was in the report, but refinance loans and to a better advantage to us. We pay a lot of interest and stuff on those loans. And I just don't want to leave it up in the air that, oh yeah, okay, go ahead. So as long as you've got clear direction on what we need to do.
I didn't do anything. What are you looking at me for?
Because he pointed to you.
No, he did thumbs up. He didn't point at me.
Yeah, and just to top that off, we used to get a list of action items as well, so that we can keep following up on these directions that we give staff. We haven't received that. We haven't seen that in a while. I'd like to see that continue, just so we kind of keep getting reminded on what it is that we need to be doing.
Okay. Everybody has busy lives, and it's easy to let things slip through the cracks. Not this time.
Okay. Anything else?
Tom, you got up and did you want to say something else?
I got up because you told me to get up.
I did? Oh.
I just wanted, in case you had any questions or clarification, but we are working on the rate study, and we're not going to forget about it.
Okay. Motion to adjourn?
So move.
Okay. Thank you.
Second, third, fourth.